Britain in the 1970s was a country of contrasts. The streets were busy, the cities were loud, and somewhere in the background, always in the background, there was the sound of a siren. British police in the 1970s were going through a transformation. The old image of a bobby on a bicycle was fading fast. Roads were getting busier, cars were getting faster, and the men and women keeping order on Britain's streets needed vehicles that could match the moment. So the police went shopping, and what they chose tells you everything about that era. Some of these cars were powerful, some were controversial, some were genuinely terrifying to see in your rearview mirror. Today, we are counting down 10 British police cars of the 1970s, the vehicles that patrolled the motorways, chased the criminals, and became some of the most iconic sights on British roads. And number 1 was feared on every road in Britain. Let's start the countdown. Number 10, Morris Marina, 1971 to 1980, British Leyland. We begin with a car that was everywhere in 1970s Britain, and that included police fleets. The Morris Marina was not glamorous, it was not fast, but it was cheap, reliable enough, and British Leyland could supply them in large numbers, which is exactly what police forces across the country needed for basic patrol duties. The Marina came with a 1.8-liter engine in its more capable versions. Nothing remarkable on paper, but painted in the traditional white and fluorescent orange livery of 1970s British police, even a Marina had a certain authority about it. It handled the quieter beats, the town patrols, the everyday presence that reminded people the police were watching, not feared, but always noticed.
Number 8, Triumph 2500. 1969 to 1977, British Leyland Triumph. Now we start climbing. The Triumph 2500 was a genuinely capable car, smooth, well-built, and equipped with a 2.5-liter 6-cylinder engine that gave it real performance for its era. Comfortable interior, good long-distance ability, and a quality to it that said, this is not an ordinary car. Police forces recognized that quality immediately. The 2500 became a popular choice for traffic divisions, the officers who handled motorway patrol and high-speed response. It was quick enough to deal with most situations and refined enough to spend long hours in without exhaustion. It was respected by the officers who drove it, and respected by the drivers who saw it appear behind them on the motorway. Number 7, Ford Cortina Mark III, 1970 to 1976, Ford. The Ford Cortina was the most popular car in Britain through much of the 1970s, so it was no surprise that it found its way into police fleets across the country. The Mark III Cortina was a significant step forward for Ford, wider, more stylish, and available with a 2.0-liter engine that gave it enough performance for active patrol duties. Police versions were typically the better-equipped variants, the 2000E or the GT, with uprated suspension and the performance needed for pursuit situations. The Cortina in police livery was a familiar sight on British roads throughout the decade, ordinary enough to blend into traffic, fast enough to catch almost anything when needed. Every driver in 1970s Britain knew the Cortina, which meant every driver knew to check the... Number 5, Ford Granada Mark I, 1972 to 1977, Ford. Ford's Granada arrived in 1972 and immediately impressed police procurement officers across Britain. Large, powerful, refined. The Granada offered everything a serious police force needed in a patrol car. The 3.0-liter V6 engine gave strong performance. The interior was spacious and comfortable enough for officers working long overnight motorway shifts. And the car had a solidity to it, a presence that commanded respect. Traffic divisions loved the Granada. It was fast enough for pursuit, stable enough at high speed, and it looked the part when it appeared at an incident. The sight of a Granada in police livery, white bodywork, blue light, the word police in black letters across the door was one of the defining images of 1970s British motoring. It meant business, and most drivers treated it accordingly. Number 4, Jaguar XJ6 Series 1, 1968 to 1973, Jaguar, a Jaguar in police colors. The XJ6 was, by any measure, one of the finest saloon cars in the world when it launched. Enzo Ferrari reportedly described it as the best saloon car ever made. The ride quality was extraordinary. The 4.2-liter 6-cylinder engine was smooth, powerful, and refined, and British police forces put it to work. Several constabularies used the XJ6 for high-speed motorway patrol during the early part of the decade. It was exceptionally fast, exceptionally comfortable, and the kind of car that made other drivers nervous simply by existing. An XJ6 in your mirror, blue light turning, was not something you argued with. It remains one of the most elegant police vehicles ever used on British roads. Number 3, Range Rover Series 1, 1970 1996, British Leyland Land Rover. In 1970, Land Rover introduced something that nobody had seen before. The Range Rover combined genuine off-road capability with a level of comfort and road performance that seemed impossible for a vehicle of its type. Police forces noticed immediately. The 3.5-litre V8 gave the Range Rover strong performance on the motorway. The elevated seating position gave officers commanding visibility over traffic, and the ability to go off-road meant it could reach incidents that ordinary patrol cars simply could not access. Several forces deployed Range Rovers for motorway and rural patrol work throughout the 1970s. They became a familiar and impressive sight. There was something about a Range Rover in police livery that carried real weight, large, capable, uncompromising. It suggested that whatever the situation,
whatever the terrain, the police were coming. Number 2. Jaguar XJ12, 1972 to 1979. Jaguar. In 1972, Jaguar put a 5.3-liter V12 engine into the XJ body. 12 cylinders, silky smooth, extraordinarily fast, and British police bought them. The XJ12 was, without question, the most powerful standard police patrol car used in Britain during the 1970s. The V12 engine produced around 250 horsepower. The car could reach 60 miles per hour in under 8 seconds and had a top speed approaching 140 miles per hour. On the motorway, it was untouchable. No production car available to ordinary British drivers in the 1970s could outrun a police XJ12. Not one. If the Jaguar got behind you with its lights on, the conversation was over before it began. Officers who drove them spoke of effortless speed, of a car that felt calm and composed at speeds that would have terrified drivers of lesser vehicles. The XJ12 in police colors was one of the most formidable law enforcement vehicles in British history.
Number 1. Rover SD1 Vitesse, 1976 to 1982. British Leyland Rover. Some police cars were respected, some were feared. The Rover SD1 was feared. When Rover introduced the SD1 in 1976, it turned heads immediately. Long, low, and styled with a shape that was unmistakably influenced by Ferrari. A 3.5-liter V8 engine. A car that looked fast standing still and was genuinely fast when moving. Police forces were watching. Traffic divisions across Britain equipped themselves with SD1s throughout the late 1970s. On the motorway, officers reported a car that felt planted, fast, and completely in control at speeds that would have pushed other vehicles to their limits. The SD1 became notorious. Motorists who knew their cars recognized it immediately and recognized what it meant. If an SD1 was behind you with its lights on, there was nowhere to go. It had the speed, it had the handling, and it had the presence. Thank you for watching. If this video brought back memories, if you remember seeing any of these cars on British roads, tell us in the comments. We read every single one. Subscribe for more journeys through Britain's past. We will see you in the next one.